The woman who lives 2 streets over from me, Gloria Hendricks, 73 years old and perfectly pleasant, told me last spring that she was finally going to start walking every morning. Just 30 minutes. She'd been meaning to for years. She said it the way people say things they won't do. That gentle, almost musical postponement. I've been meaning to. I didn't say anything. What would I have said? I've been watching people mean to do things my entire life. But here's what I want you to understand before we go any further. This is not a lecture. I am not a doctor. I'm a librarian from Wisconsin who has spent 9 decades noticing things. And the thing I have noticed over and over, across nearly every person I have ever loved or watched or sat beside in a waiting room, is that we treat our bodies the way we treat old cars. We run them hard, ignore the strange sounds, and assume there will be time to deal with it later. There isn't always time. I want to talk to you today about health, not the way a pamphlet talks about it, not with charts and bullet points and the word wellness used 17 times. The way someone who is old enough to have attended more funerals than birthday parties talks about it. With honesty. With the specific weight of things I have seen. And I want to start with something that may seem small. Sleep. I know, you've heard it. Sleep more. 8 hours. You've heard it and you've nodded and you've stayed up anyway, because there is something to finish or something to watch, or simply because the quiet of late night is the only quiet in your day. I understand that. I have always loved the late hours. But here is what I didn't understand until I was well past 60. Sleep is not rest. Or rather, it is rest, but it is also repair. The body does its actual maintenance work at night. It processes the day's damage, consolidates memory, regulates the hormones that manage hunger, stress, immune function. When you shortchange it, you are not simply tired the next day. You are accumulating a kind of debt that compounds. I watched my husband Harold's health deteriorate in the decade after he retired. He began sleeping poorly after his mother died around 1984, and he never quite recovered the habit. I attributed it to grief, and then to age, and then to just the way things were. What I know now that I didn't know then is that we could have fought harder for those hours, that the fatigue he accepted as ordinary was telling us something. Don't wait until someone you love is exhausted before you take sleep seriously. Don't wait until you are. If you are lying in bed right now thinking about whether you get enough sleep, you probably don't. Do something about that this week. Not someday, this week. The second thing is harder to say. Most people do not know their own bodies. They don't know their resting heart rate. They don't know what their blood pressure runs. They don't know if certain foods make them foggy, or certain situations spike their anxiety, or whether the fatigue they've been living with for 3 years is actually fatigue, or is something else presenting as fatigue. We are intimately, exhaustively familiar with our phones. We know when the battery is low. We notice immediately when something runs slower than usual. We do not extend that same attention to the only hardware we cannot replace. In the winter of 2006, January 15th, I remember because we'd just had a heavy snow, I had a checkup that turned up a vitamin D deficiency so severe, my doctor said it explained a great deal about how I'd been feeling. Tired, slightly gray in my thinking, less interested in the things that usually interested me. I had attributed it to winter, to being 77, to just the natural dimming of age. It wasn't any of those things. It was fixable, and it had been fixable for probably 2 years before I walked into that office. Get your blood work done. Know your numbers. Do not wait until something is dramatically wrong, because many of the things that become dramatically wrong begin as small, quiet imbalances that a routine panel would catch easily. You are worth that hour. Third, movement, not exercise, not as a program or a regimen or a transformation you are beginning on Monday. Movement, the basic, daily, continuous kind that human bodies require to function properly and that modern life has almost entirely removed from us. I am thinking of a man named Warren Kowalski, who came into the library every Thursday for about 15 years. He was an accountant, brilliant man, read voraciously, knew more about the Civil War than anyone I've met before or since. He sat for a living, and he sat for leisure, and he sat on his evenings and weekends, and he told himself that because he wasn't overweight, he was fine. He had his first cardiac event at 61. He's still alive, I should say that. He is 82 now and walking 3 miles a day and fiercely, almost comically dedicated to it. But he told me once that he lost 10 years of health he didn't have to lose because he confused thinness with wellness and stillness with rest. Your body is not meant to stay still. It is meant to carry you through the world. Even 30 minutes a day of walking, actual walking, outside, with your arms moving and your breathing deepened, changes the biology of stress, of memory, of your cardiovascular system, of your mood. I know you know this. I'm not telling you something new. I'm asking you why you haven't made it non-negotiable. What exactly are you saving that time for? What is more important than the physical system that makes everything else possible? Go outside today, not tomorrow, today. Fourth thing, what you are eating. And I say this gently. I grew up in a time when the food we ate was mostly recognizable. My mother made bread, made soup, grew tomatoes in the back garden, and we ate what the season offered and supplemented it frugally. I'm not romanticizing that. Plenty was lacking. But there was very little in our daily diet that had been manufactured to be eaten compulsively. The food landscape changed so profoundly in the last 50 years that most people my age can hardly make sense of it. What I see when I look at it with honest eyes is that a great many people are eating things that are engineered to be difficult to stop eating, and they are doing so 3 times a day, every day, and calling it normal because it is common. Common and healthy are not synonyms. I am not asking you to be perfect. I am asking you to look clearly at what you are eating and ask honestly, is this nourishing me? Not is it delicious, not is it convenient, not is it what I have always eaten. Is it actually building the body I will need when I am 60, 70, 80? The choices you make in your 40s and 50s show up in your 70s. I have seen this happen in enough people to say it without qualification. Fifth, and this one surprised me to learn so late, your mental health is your physical health. I don't mean this the soft way it is often said, as if the relationship is vague or inspirational. I mean it as biology. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which damages the cardiovascular system, suppresses immune function, disrupts sleep, and accelerates cellular aging. Anxiety, left unaddressed, changes the structure of how the nervous system responds to ordinary situations. Grief that is not processed, that is pushed down and covered over and worked around, sits in the body and will eventually make itself known. I spent 20 years after Harold died carrying a low-level sadness that I considered normal. Fine. Part of aging. I was functional. I was interested in life. I didn't call it anything or seek help for it because it didn't seem serious enough. It was just a heaviness, a quiet one, very much in my character, easy to overlook. I began seeing a therapist at 83. I tell people that and they laugh, affectionately but still, as if at 83 the work is beside the point. It wasn't beside the point. It lifted something I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten it wasn't supposed to be there. My sleep improved. My appetite improved. I became slightly lighter in my movements, according to my daughter Karen, who noticed before I did. If you are walking around with unaddressed weight, grief, resentment, old fear, accumulated stress, please don't decide it isn't serious enough to treat. Please don't wait until you are 83 to lighten the load. Sixth, alcohol. I want to be careful here because I am not a moralist and I am not telling you how to live. But I have watched enough people over 90 years to say plainly that alcohol is the most normalized harmful thing in American culture, and the normalization has cost people dearly. I am thinking of a colleague, Eleanor Price, who retired from the library system in 1991. Smart, funny, good at her job, loved by the staff. She drank wine every evening. 1 glass, then 2, then 3, then a bottle. And it happened so gradually over so many years that there was never a moment anyone pointed to as the beginning. It was just the water she swam in. Her liver showed the damage at 68. She died at 72. I am not telling you not to drink. I am asking you to look honestly at your relationship with it. Whether it has crept, whether it is managing something that you could address more directly, whether the story you tell yourself about it is accurate. That's all. An honest look. Seventh, the doctor's appointment you've been putting off. You know the one, possibly more than one. The thing you noticed 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, that you have been not thinking about with great discipline. The check you have been meaning to schedule. The symptom you have been attributing to stress or aging or nothing, because the alternative, that it might be something, requires more courage than you have found yet. I understand the avoidance. I have done it myself. There is a peculiar human math that says, if I don't look, it isn't there. The problem is that bodies don't observe that logic. Things that are there do not stop being there because they are unobserved. They grow. My friend Dorothy Moss caught her breast cancer early because she went to an appointment she'd postponed for 4 months. Her prognosis was excellent. Her neighbor, a woman I'll only call M, postponed for 18 months because she was frightened. Her prognosis was not. Same month, same county. 2 outcomes shaped almost entirely by fear versus action. Make the appointment. Make it today. Not at the end of this video, not when things settle down. Open your phone right now, or put it on the list for the first thing tomorrow, and make the appointment. I am asking you directly. 8th, and this is the one I feel most strongly about. The health of your relationships is your health. I have saved this for last, not because it is least important, but because it is the hardest to act on. And I wanted you here with me when I said it. Loneliness is not just an emotional state. It operates in the body like a chronic disease. The research on this is clear and has been clear for decades. Social isolation is associated with higher rates of heart disease, stroke, cognitive decline, depression, immune dysfunction, and premature death. People who are genuinely connected, not on social media, I mean genuinely in relationship, live longer and recover more fully from illness. I have known this in my bones for most of my life, even before it was researched. You can feel it. You can feel the difference in your body after an evening with someone you love and trust versus an evening alone with anxiety. Your nervous system knows. And here is what I want to say very directly. In the last 2 decades, I have watched people of all ages quietly, politely, and very efficiently dismantle their close relationships. Not through dramatic falling outs, through drift, through busyness, through the assumption that people we love will remain available indefinitely, and that connection can be maintained on a maintenance schedule of once or twice a year. It cannot. I want to ask you to think of one person, just one, whose voice you have not heard in too long. A parent, a sibling, a friend who knew you before you became who you are now. Someone who, when you are honest with yourself, you have been meaning to call. Call them this week. Tell them something true, that you miss them, or that you were thinking of them, or simply that you wanted to hear their voice. Not because it will always be too late soon, it might not be, but because the accumulated richness of a life that includes real, sustained, tended human connection is so much greater than the life of convenience and postponement that busyness makes possible. You are going to be old someday, if you are lucky, And when you are old, the things that will have mattered will not be the things you finished, or the meetings you attended, or the content you consumed. They will be the faces of people who knew you, the particular texture of long friendships, the phone calls you made for no reason except that you wanted to. I am 91 years old. I have had a long, quiet, deeply satisfying life. But if I am honest, and I have found that at this age there is very little reason not to be, what I wish I had done more of is simply this: reached toward people. Even I, who have always found deep comfort in solitude, learned that reaching toward others does not compromise that solitude. It enriches it. It gives the quiet something to be quiet about. Your health is not a list of appointments to make and habits to adopt, though those things matter. Your health is the whole of how you are living. The sleep and the food and the movement, yes, but also the grief you are carrying, the person you haven't called, the doctor's office you've been avoiding, the honest conversation you've been putting off with yourself about whether the way you are living is actually the way you want to be living. You have time to change things. Right now, you have time. That is the gift I most want to leave with you. Use it.